Hello, how are you? Welcome to Trapping the Time. My name is Pablo, and in today's video I'm going to review this German watch from the NBY brand. The first of my collection and of this channel, and the truth is, I already wanted to. More than once, I've said in the videos and in the comments that the watches that I like are the German ones. They're the ones I like the most, especially those from the Bauhaus school, but also the flyers with those classic designs of World War II. However, the piece that I bring today only has to do with that in part. Yes, it is German, yes it is aviation, but it's not a flyer like those classic designs of brands like Laco or another priced IWC. The watch and aviation form a perfect symbiosis, so much so that I dare to say that one without the other would not be the same. The first wristwatch for hunger was made by Louis Cartier for Santos Dumont in 1904. It was for creating a useful tool for his friend, an aviation pioneer, who for obvious reasons couldn't consult his pocket watch while manipulating those rudimentary planes. And that's the great favour which we watch lovers owe to Santos Dumont and Louis Cartier. Pilots' watches became an essential device for air navigation. I will give an example that demonstrates its importance. During World War II, German pilots did not own the watches they used to fly, the mythical flyers, as they had to return them to the Luftwaffe when they returned from missions. They were not watches for personal use, but one more instrument of the plane. Pilot watches, in addition to measuring the time elapsed in the air, were also used to calculate a whole series of fundamental data for the flight, such as fuel composition, consumption, elevation, speed, and heading. And once I've outlined the close relationship between the watch and aviation, I'm going to focus on this piece. At a glance, it's obvious that this colour of the sphere is not the usual one. I don't even know if it's practical, speaking of the great visibility that's expected from this type of watch in any condition, which is precious. I don't know how to define that green, aurora borealis maybe. The truth is that I've never seen it before in a watch, and actually in very few things. Maybe in a car, but it's a really rare colour. It makes it as rare as it is beautiful. But before going into detail about this piece, let me tell you a little bit about what I know about the brand, which sadly is not much. NBY Jaeger belongs to the Schaumburg Group. That group has three brands: Schaumburg Watches, that makes more formal and elegant watches. Some of them really cause me for admiration. They also have some single needle watches that I love, like the Squarematic that is beautiful, and this other GT1 that seems impressive to me. The truth is that I love all the watches of this brand. Then there's the Nightfish, which is the brand they use for their divers, and the other NB Jaeger, which is their aviation watches. The Orion Piece 3C, after which this watch is also named, is a combat aircraft designed for submarine hunting and maritime patrol. It's part of the German military aviation, among others, for example the Spanish. Well, this piece commemorates that plane in a special edition that the brand launched in 2015 and that I bought in NOS, that's to say new from old stock, which guarantees it in order like any new watch. The price of the watch was approximately £750, but it was half the price for me. What caught my attention most about the clock is, guess, I'm almost sure you haven't got it right, because what attracts me most about this piece is not seen from the front. Well, you can see the fruits of your efforts, which is the hands moving. I'm talking about, if you can imagine, the movement. And I don't say this because it's beautiful to look at, which it is. I have not seen many watches that have such a beautiful back in this price range. But I'm referring to those low reliefs, the width and beauty of those blued screws, to the absence of the rotor that shows in all its splendour. It all makes for a really beautiful movement. But what really influenced me in its purchase, besides the beauty of the watch, is its condition as a manual watch, of having to wind it daily and what that entails. Because let's see, I know this is not what's expected now, but I love that my watches sound as loud and as clear as possible. And it's with the current automatics, it's like a dream. With one of these old school manual windings, it's a real joy to hear the crown actuation when you activate the gears. I love it. Listen. The caliber has an excellent appearance, but the fact that its origin is not engraved the classic Swiss made or the made in Germany makes me doubt if it's not a very well decorated Chinese seagull. But as I don't have any, I can't compare it. If you know, let me know in the comments. And as I say, a little more about it, because searching by name on the internet, the caliber is called GNF 1997, because I can only find a page on the Chrono24 website where there are more watches but no information about this movement, which I can say is very precise. We've measured it with the phone application that we use, and from February 24th to March 1st it gave a result of more than 17.35 seconds a day, but hey, it would have to be measured using it because this measurement was with a watch in a box, and from my experience that can tend to vary quite a lot. To give an example, my Seiko King Samurai is stopped at minus 26 seconds a day, but if I use it, its precision becomes less than a second a day. It's a crazy difference. And that's why I'm leaving this information about the precision of this caliber somewhat vague up in the air. Since I've already said that this is NBY, it has only been measured while stationary. Of course, I also confess that deep down, I don't really care about the subject. The clock that I use the most is this Wilfred that advances, surprise yourself, 2.5 minutes a day. It seems like a joke, but it's not. What happens is that knowing it and having to wind it up daily, since you're already handling it a little, it's like dreaming that time is in your hands, and that depends on you in some way. That illusion created by these watches, like the Look single needle, or in all my manuals that are never that precise, I don't care about. What matters to me is winding them up, hearing their mechanism, those things that connect me with my grandfather's clock and with another way of understanding or capturing time, intimate thoughts of a guy with too many grey hairs already. And going back to the clock, after mentioning its movement, I have to talk about the exuberant aesthetic. It's anything but discreet. A two-hand analog watch with a sub-dial for the seconds. I can't think of anything else to point out about its colour, just in case I've never seen it before in a watch. So bright, so beautiful, with that amber effect. It's truly spectacular. The minute indices are painted in the shape of a bar with the R's in large Arabic numerals, the 9's missing, whose place is taken by the sub-weighting of the seconds, and the 12 is marked by a large triangle with those small circles on the sides, so typical of aviators. The numbers 8 and 10 are cut off, and I confess that's what I like the least about this piece. Of course, I would have taken them off, but I think it would look much better in fact, and I must say I don't understand that the mistake it shares with so many other watches, even of a much higher level of frame and price. It escapes me why they do it in this way. The truth is, I just don't understand it. It seems a serious design flaw. The sub-sphin of the seconds is responsible for that effect because it's at the 9 o'clock and inevitably cuts out those numbers due to its size. It has the numerical markers painted 10 by 10 below the 12 of the triangle. We can see the acronym of the brand and above the 6 special edition, and at its lower part, made in Germany. All of them painted in a gold colour that contrasts with the dominance of green and puts a colour accent on the dial where there's not a single marker or legend applied. Everything is painted in this dial. The hands are rhomboid, great size and presence to facilitate the reading, and contrasting with the landscape, always green, like that of my land, which they go through every hour. They do not have any counterweight and their colour is black, although they are filled with light paint, the same with which the markers are painted. The bezel is shaped like a spring, constantly playing with the light and framing the slightly baroque dial very well, but very elegantly. The crown matches the size of the watch and it's intended to use. Very prominent, very easy to handle. It drops steeply in diameter as it approaches the case to make it easier to actuate. Its finish is polished, contrasting with the case where it's brushed. The watch originally came with this bund type strap that I love. What happens is that it's very impractical to use because those two layers of leather raise the watch to a height that's incompatible with outerwear. Which, by the way, this year, it's already getting too long. I can't remember another year with the stove on at this time of the year. Going back to the strap, I think it's not designed for large wrists. It is small and it doesn't fully hug the wrist. It's very cool, but very impractical. In fact, I preferred to change it for the one that I'm wearing now, and the truth is that it's on another watch. Still not too discreet, but it's much more wearable and above all, more comfortable. The case has a brushed circular shape except for the ring that connects it to the bezel and the front of the lugs, which are polished. The lid is screw top, and the only thing that stands out in that large window that lets you appreciate the beautiful movement in that it houses in all its splendour. As I've already said, something that's quite striking is that it does not have the origin of the caliber or any legend or reference to the watch engraved in its heart, as normally happens with all our pieces of greater or less profusion. The truth is that it's a bit strange. I would say that it's a Chinese movement. But I love this watch. It's one of the first ones I look at as soon as I open the box. It's also my first German. I'm sure it won't be my last. And now, let's finish this edition. I only need to give you the measurements of the clock, which are as follows. 44mm diameter, 53mm lug to lug, 12.2mm high, and a width of the strap is 22mm. Has sapphire covered tempered glass on the front without anti-reflective coating and normal glass on the back. Finished the review, and since this video was a little shorter than normal, let me take an opportunity to tell you something that's been on my mind that worries me in a certain way and certainly surprises me a lot. I'm quite concerned that the new generations influenced by mobile phones or now smartwatches are leaving aside the use of our beloved watches. But it's also true that we become more fond of this world as we get older, at least that's my case, and I think that many of us in some way, and it makes sense, and that's why I'm concerned, and that there's currently no such generational transmission, that our young people, who tomorrow will be adults, never miss using these wonderful gadgets for not having the experience at a younger age. I'll leave that thought here, and to let me finish, show you the last piece that has been added to my collection since I bought it this week. It's a watch that I had really wanted since I saw it in this version, and I'm going to let you see it, but only from the side to see who's capable of knowing what watch with only this clue. And that's it. I hope you liked today's video. Hit the like button, activate the bell if you haven't already done so, subscribe to the channel, and share your opinions, your thoughts and your love in the comments. Thank you very much for being here, and if you want to see the next video, well, stay tuned and we'll see you soon. Bye bye.